It's a beautiful night here in the Pacific Northwest. A nice mist is coming down. Tonight I'm going to put in my rockers, push rods, bridges, and fulcrums. As soon as I can locate them. When I torque my rockers and fulcrums to the head bosses, I want each of those cylinders at top dead center on the compression stroke. To make sure I have each cylinder in that position, I'm going to put my distributor in. And my distributor now is going to be a camshaft position indicator. It'll become a camshaft position indicator because if it's properly installed, I can look at this rotor and know exactly what cylinder I'm on. Okay, your distributor is going to be your camshaft position indicator. To put it in here on number 1, that's at 11. And then on the distributor shaft, you're at 5 o'clock. Okay, I have my number 1 cylinder at top dead center. I know that. I had the head off. Both my lifters, which sit vertically in the lifter valley here on the cam lobes, are completely recessed. The cam lobes, intake and exhaust, are at the cam baseline. Once I put this camshaft position indicator in, I will be able to rotate my engine. I'll know exactly what position it's in. Okay. Here's the index mark on our camshaft position indicator. We're going to pin it to this position. Right here's the trigger, the camshaft position trigger for your ignition. And by inspection we can see it's essentially pointing to number 1. We have this at the number 5 o'clock when we drop it in. So 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 somewhere right here. And there we just rotated, but we rotated too far. Let's put it in 1 tooth off. And now my 11 o'clock has turned. Okay, 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock, index mark, pin, holding that in position. We're going to drop this in at 5 o'clock position, 12, 6, 5. It's got to engage in the camshaft gear. If it doesn't, we'll pull it out and do it again. Bingo. Right now, this is a camshaft position indicator. It's no different than your fuel gauge telling you how much fuel is in your tank. I'm at number 1 right now. I can rotate my engine and know exactly where I'm at. You don't know how many times I've been working on an engine and had to walk away for some reason. and then you come back, you rotate it, and you're not 100% sure that you're at top dead center. You can figure it out, but this is going to tell me now exactly where I'm at. Alright, don't forget to remove your pinning device. And then there's only 13 positions on the cam gear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You can only get it so far off before you visually can see that you're in the wrong position. So 6 cylinders, you're only going to get it off a tooth one way or the other. When I remove these old rockers, there's a preload on the 4.0 engine of 10 to 20 thousandths. So when I loosen that preload will observe that being removed from the spring tension. So imagine this is the boss on the head, and this is the fulcrum. There's always that preload to keep these two surfaces from being perfectly even. When a torque is applied, optimum torque, you want this nice, even mating surfaces essentially as flat as possible. On this engine with the preload, you're never going to have a perfectly flat surface when you apply the torque. But we can get very close by having the cylinder at top dead center on the compression stroke when we torque each one. And this is the surface I'm talking about on the fulcrum. And there's the surface I'm talking about on the head boss. With that preload, there's going to be some force applied when we torque it. So the torque is 19 to 22 foot-pounds. I'm just going to set my torque wrench at 21. And the fact that you always have that preload on this engine, torquing these with the cylinder, the top dead center on the compression stroke, doesn't seem to be that important to mechanics. Me, I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time. I got my distributor installed for a camshaft position indicator, and I'm going to torque each one top dead center of the compression stroke. So imagine if we're not at top dead center of the compression stroke, perhaps we're at the intake is all the way open. In that scenario, with the push rod all the way up, and we try to torque it, we first have to overcome that hydraulic lifter, and then we have to push the spring tension and valve. Then the surfaces get flat, and then the torque is applied. So it's not going to be a nice even torque, and that can lead to metal fatigue, cracks. Like we were talking about, these bolts are getting reused. This bolt head is going to be taking that force as we torque it. So that's just some things to consider. You make your own decisions. It's not that critical on this engine. They're non-adjustable. Hydraulic lifters readjust in operation. Remember the preload, 10 to 20 thousandths. And then also, if you had your head machined, perhaps 30 thousandths to get more compression, that's another measurement to add to the 10 to 20. All right, here's my new stamped steel rockers from China, brand new. Here's my stamped steel fulcrum, and you're instructed to make sure the oil passage grooves cross. Now, how are you going to get that wrong when they're part of the stamped steel? So there's one in each rocker per cylinder. I just put one orientated this way, and then in the other rocker for the same cylinder, I orientate it that way. Does it make any sense? No. All right, so there's the surface on our fulcrum. There's the surface on our head boss. We want that to be as level, perfectly mated as possible when we apply our torque. So these stamped steel rockers, they're prone to fatigue in here and flexing and high wear and where the fulcrum meets this rocker. This is the failure that can occur. This is out of a different application engine, but there's a crack. Fatigue. Perhaps it was over torqued. And then we're reusing the bolts. You have to draw the line somewhere when you're doing this. But fatigue cracks would occur right here. This is getting reused again. This bolt probably has 300,000 miles on it. Am I going to talk myself into going and getting new bolts right here? Perhaps. Okay, I do have a new set of bolts. Well, not new, but they came with a head that I bought. I really don't know the condition of these either, but I think I will swap these in. I know these have been subjected to use, abuse, reuse, overheating. You've been a good warrior for me. It's time for you to take a rest. So the best example I can think of to explain this concept is I had a Melling Oil Pump. I think it was for a 318. It was a high volume, so it was pretty expensive, maybe $100. And it says right there on the tag that you get when you unpack it, to make sure your mating surfaces are flush when you torque it. Well, I didn't have the mating surfaces flush, and that brand new Melling $100 oil pump cracked on me. And I was at a point in life where I didn't have $100. I had a young family. Spending money on auto parts was a luxury I really couldn't afford. So this isn't that critical. But I'm going to do each one. Top dead center of the compression stroke. Alright, our new stamped steel rocker, our new stamped steel fulcrum, and I'm gonna cross these, even though they are in different rockers. That's what the maintenance manual instructs you to do. I don't know how you're gonna uncross these when they're part of the stamped steel, but and once again, there's our torque surface, and there it is on the head boss. Assembly lube in here for sure. Assembly lube there on the valve stem, and a generous amount in here. This is where initial startup wear can occur and cause some damage. All right, oil groove crossed. Our bridge, my bolts that I got from another engine. Boy, that's beautiful, isn't it? Man, oh man. So right there, that's bottomed out. There's a preload on there, so that's not perfectly flat, but it's pretty close. Okay, we'll get these all started like this, but you can see the different heights of the push rods. That's because the lifters sit vertically in here on the cam lobes, and with the engine in the position it's in, some of these cam lobes are at baseline, some are coming up on the intake stroke, perhaps some are on the exhaust stroke, so that's why these are all different heights. We're going to use our distributor as a camshaft position indicator, rotate this, and when we torque them, top dead center of the compression stroke on each cylinder. Okay, stuff like this really makes me sick. This is right out of the bag from China. You see that rust in there in that cup? That has to all be removed. That's like 80 grit sandpaper in there. I would have been better off reusing probably the set of rockers I already had. I think I'll stop for the night. I'm gonna have to take a good look at all these. I just spent a good hour cleaning these up right out of the package. Getting the rust out of the cups was not easy. I needed steel wool. I used the old push rod. There's my oil grooves. And here's my old rockers. It looks like there's oil grooves in the old ones, and these new ones don't have that feature. Okay, this rocker is stock, and it also has the oil grooves. It's starting to make sense to me now. You want to cross this oil groove with the oil groove in the fulcrum. These from China don't have the groove in here. Then we talked about a nice mated surface when we torque. I used my example of the $100 Melling Oil Pump. For that reason, we want to have each cylinder at top dead center of the compression stroke. Intake and exhaust valves are closed, and that'll give us a good even torque. So let's look at each cylinder. See this? That's our mating surface. Right now all our bolts are finger tight. As we tighten down to the mating surface, we're overcoming the spring tension on our preload, 10 to 20 thousandths out of the factory, and also any pumping up of the hydraulic lifters. Okay, the preload on this is excessive. I've measured it 2 or 3 times. It's 0.085, and it's been as high as 0.096. These stamped steel rockers, which we just observed do not have oil grooves in them. The specifications that these were made are incorrect for this application engine. It's driving this preload almost to 0.1, which is excessive. Could lead to the valve to remain open partially at high RPMs. So we're going to install our old rockers, fulcrums, and bridge. That's probably a better choice anyway. My old rockers have an oil groove in them.